What's up guys, Josh here, and I used to do a lot of topic-based videos in the past where I would talk about kind of ideas and concepts and things like that, and I kind of want to restart doing that because I think they're a lot of fun, and I think that review after review after review can get a little bit boring, and maybe you want to talk about stuff outside of just reviews. So today I actually want to talk about selling used gear, what you can do to maximize the potential to sell your gear, and the amount of money you're going to get for your gear, and things that will help you in both of those categories. Now I am going to be talking about headphones, but this is kind of a general rule of thumb for selling anything. I've done a lot of online buying and online selling, especially with used gear, not just with audio stuff, but this goes for photography equipment, video equipment, any electronics really. So this will be a good rule of thumb for anything. So I've broken this down into 3 tips, and basically the 3 things that you can do to maximize the amount of money and maximize the possibility of selling audio equipment, because audio equipment sells very, very slowly in certain areas and depending on what you're selling. So the first one starts way before you're even going to consider selling whatever item you have. And this is to take care of your gear. There's a couple reasons why. One, when you do go to resell it, you're going to be able to fetch a little bit more money off of it because it's in good condition. 2, why would you want to have something that's all beat up? And 3, it's peace of mind. When you go to sell something, you know it's going to work. And you know nobody's going to look at it and be like, what is this piece of crap? Like, it doesn't look like that in photos. You really want to avoid that scenario, because if it's me, if you have really nice photos of something that hide all the blemishes and stuff like that, and I show up and it's got a ton of marks on it, not interested. You're hiding something from me and I can't trust you anymore. Now, tip number 2, and this is going to be a big one, is going to be to diversify your selling locations. Now, what I mean by this is specifically what websites you are selling on, because generally websites or applications are best to sell things on. And I also have one for you to avoid. Now, there are 3 applications and 1 website that I recommend you use, and I recommend you use all of them simultaneously. 1 is going to be OfferUp, 2 is going to be an app called 5 Miles, and 3 is going to be an application called Letgo. Now, the additional site is going to be Craigslist. Now, the reason why I list all of these is because they are all local sellers and buyers. And the reason why that's good is because I think that in-person contact when you're buying and selling something is not only safer, you know, when you implore general public guidelines like meeting in a public place and things like that, but it's also financially safer because you get to try out the gear before you actually purchase it. Whereas if you're buying things off of HeadFi or off of eBay, for example, you don't really get to try it before you buy it. Now, they can have reputations for certain sellers, but then when you get shipping involved, there's this extra risk, and you never know when something could go wrong. So when you meet in person and you meet locally, you don't have to pay for shipping, so generally you save a little bit of money. They get a little bit more money, so it's beneficial for everybody, and you get to meet the person who you're selling the thing from. And if you don't trust them for whatever reason, or that gear isn't what they advertise it to be, it's very easy to just be like, no thanks, I'm good. Have a nice day. Now, the reason why I recommend posting to all those simultaneously is simply a matter of statistics. It's very simple. Statistically, you're more likely to sell something the more people see it. So diversify where you're sending it to. I recommend 2 things to make this really simple for you. 1 is going to be just take pictures on your phone so they're there, and you can post to each of those applications from your phone, and then open up a notepad, give the description of your item, make it thorough, and then you can just copy and paste straight to each application. It's real simple, real quick, and it maximizes the amount of eyeballs that are on. Now, I said a second ago that there was one that I don't recommend, and that's eBay. Now, even though eBay has a very, very large, if not the largest selling and buying customer base on the planet, especially for, you know, person to person, they take a 10% cut of everything, and it comes in the form of an invoice, so you're not charged with it right away. Now, this can really sneak up on you, especially if you sell a lot of items. The first month I used eBay, before I was even aware of the charge, I sold like $600 to $800 worth of items. I can't remember exactly how much it was. And then a month later, an $80 invoice showed up, and it was like, hey, you owe us $80. And I was like, oh, like I didn't realize that was part of the deal because I didn't read all the terms and conditions. Anyways, I could rant on about this all day, trust me. But I personally just think that 10% is way, way too much of a cut for just acting as a broker, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people are going to ask about HeadFi. I've never used HeadFi. I've heard really good things, but I can't vouch for it myself because I haven't used it myself. But I haven't heard too many people complain about issues with HeadFi trading or buying or selling. So that might be a good option. But I do also recommend over HeadFi going local, because you don't have to deal with shipping charges and generally you can fetch a little bit more money going local. All right, then the third and final tip is just gonna be the posting. Now, the posting matters more than people think. Now, there's two things that I recommend you do for the posting and one thing that I recommend you do not do. And so really this starts with tip number one of taking care of your gear, making sure that you're selling an item that is in as good as condition as it can be while being used. All the stuff that I sell is technically used, but it's in like new condition. I don't degrade the pads at all. I don't throw things down. I don't slam them down. They have no scratches or scuffs or dings when I go to sell something. Otherwise, I don't sell it. So the first sub tip is going to be to take good pictures. Now, good pictures are way easier than people think. I move that desk up against a window, open the window a little bit, put down a piece of paper, and use that as a background to set a white background for this product that I was taking pictures of, all with my iPhone. And a picture like this is great because it focuses only on the product. You have a good amount of light there. And when people come across it and look for it, if they're looking for something like that, that's gonna attract a lot of attention because it's well lit and it's very obvious on what you're selling. And phones nowadays can take amazing pictures, and it's really easy. Just set the table up against the window as close as you can get it towards the window, have the light shine in, and take a picture from the top down, and you're good to go. Now on to the thing I don't recommend doing when you post. A lot of people kind of slip up a little bit and they'll degrade the product that you're selling, and you always want to upsell without lying, but you do want to upsell the product. So a lot of people will say like, oh, I'm looking for something better, or I'm looking for an upgrade. Never ever do that. The reason why is because as a buyer, I'm gonna look at that and be like, oh, so you think that there's something out there that's better? What are you considering to be better? Maybe I should look at a used version of that. Like imagine if you were going to a Ferrari dealer and the salesman was like, oh, I'm selling my Ferrari for a Lamborghini. You'd be like, there's probably a reason why he's doing that. So you always want to upsell. What you can say, and what I recommend saying is like, oh, these are a great pair of headphones, I just don't have enough room for them. Or saying something along the lines of like, these are a great pair of headphones, I just don't need them, I just don't listen to them. Or maybe you can change it away from the actual headphone itself and say, hey, I'm selling this because I need money. Just make it not about the headphone not meeting your standards, because the buyer is gonna look at that and be like, oh, maybe these won't meet my standards either. So always upsell and never, ever, under any circumstances, degrade, but don't be dishonest either, because if you're dishonest to me in a posting and you say one thing and it looks like one thing and I get there and it's not that thing, I'm gonna walk right the fuck out. Sorry for the language. And then the third thing that I recommend doing for postings, and something that I personally do every single time, is I advertise the ability for them to try before they buy with no obligation. I say, hey, come and try this before you buy it. Make sure it's something that you like. Generally, when people get there with it in their hands, they're gonna want it. And that's just kind of a thing. And now I'm not trying to use this in a dishonest way, because genuinely, if you don't want it, I don't want to sell it to you. I don't want you to come back and complain to me. I want to sell something to somebody who's going to enjoy it. And if you don't like that sound signature, great, I'll move on to the next guy. But if you employ those three tips in your posting, good pictures, never degrade the product, always upsell the product, not too much and not falsifying information, but don't ever degrade it, and then giving an option to try before you buy, you're really going to incentivize people to come in and actually get their paws on this headphone. And you can say, hey, we can discuss pricing once you get here, but I'm thinking somewhere in the ballpark of like $70 to $80, for example. And then when you get there, you can be like, yeah, I'm really thinking about 75, or whatever you're trying to attain. And if you have a really high quality product that they like, they're gonna be willing to pay a premium because of the condition. So if you do all three of those things, you're going to be able to sell your headphones, or really any gear whatsoever, incredibly fast. But this all starts at the very beginning of you getting your gear and taking care of it from day one, then posting to as many places as possible and making your posting as appealing as possible and getting people in the door, so to speak, to let them get their paws on this headphone or this product to try, so that they can buy it and you can get the most amount of money and they can get something that they're happy with. Everybody wins. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. So I will see you guys next week for normal reviews. And then this Sunday between 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will have a live Q&A. So stay tuned for that. Again, Sunday, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, guys. Peace.